Today's question is, what is the hardest part of songwriting? Hi, this is Friedemann from Holistic Songwriting. I actually have 4 answers for you here because there's a lot of things in songwriting that are really quite hard. And I've been writing songs for I think it's been 12 years now, and I've written well over 1,000 songs. I'm not counting anymore, but it's been a lot of songs. And I still have the same difficulties as when I started out. Now, not the same difficulties, but 5 years in, things don't change anymore so much. So number 1 is finding an interesting second verse. After the first chorus, you kind of have heard everything that your song has to offer. You've heard the first verse, you've heard the first chorus. So what do you do in the second verse to keep things interesting? How do you keep things moving without just repeating what you've already done? One technique I've found out for that is what I call implied tension, which is there's these 3 things to making sure your song builds, what I call lyrical storytelling. And these 3 techniques are hype, tension, and apply tension. And you can learn all about that in my book right here. That's one of the techniques that I found to sort of remedy this problem, the second verse problem, I call it. But it's still tricky to come up with a second verse that's interesting and sounds fresh. Number 2 is finding the perfect lyrics. Man, have I struggled with lyrics in my days. Maybe it's because I'm German and English isn't my mother tongue, but I consider my English fairly okay. But finding good lyrics in songwriting is very, very tough. Because, my standards, I think, are very high as well. I want something that sounds extremely natural. It has to just flow. It has to sound like someone would actually be saying it in a conversation, not just in a song. So that's my biggest thing. It has to sound natural. It has to sound good. It has to be about something. If possible, I want it to have some meaning. So those are very high standards. It's very, very difficult to find a piece of text that fits into all those categories. So that's really very, very tricky. Number 3 is keeping your ears fresh. This is challenging. When you're writing a song, you usually hear a song for maybe 100 times, maybe much more often. I used to write on a song for months, and back then I would hear a song over 2,000 times when I wrote it. Now it's more down to maybe 100 or so, because I write songs in 2 or 3 days now. But still, what happens is, when you hear a song over and over again, those problems that the song has, they start to go away. And that is in itself a problem, because when you show your song to someone, the first idea that they have should not be, oh, this is weird, oh, this is strange. Their first thing should be like, oh yeah, this is making me feel good, right? It's all about emotion. If your listener doesn't get any emotion from your piece of music, it's not working. And your piece of music definitely shouldn't make them feel like there's just some bits in there that don't quite work. And as I said, the problem is with listening to a song over and over again is after a while you kind of lose that perspective, and those things that don't really work in your song, they kind of feel like, oh yeah, that's how it's supposed to be, because you've heard it so many times. We're just creatures of habit, right? And if we hear something so many times, it just seems natural and logical after a while. So that's a big, big issue. And then lastly it's having a clear message. And this is something I think I've remedied in the last couple of years. But this was definitely a huge issue when I was still studying music. And that is that my songs kind of turned into mutants, right? That has a lot to do with that overwriting stuff, writing for months on a song. What that does to your songs usually is the following. You have a song that kind of works. There's a couple of small things that may not be perfect, but it kind of works. And then you kind of stick with it and you kind of keep writing on it. And after a while, you've heard it so many times, this one section over here just doesn't seem so interesting, does it? Maybe I should do something about that. And then you add in like a bass drop or whatever, or you add in a new hi-hat, or you add in a new guitar part, and then, oh, the chorus over here, now that doesn't work anymore because the verse now is so full. I need something more for the chorus. And you add in all this stuff, and your song mutates and mutates and mutates and gets bigger and weirder. And someone who listens to it for the very first time is going to be completely like, what is going on? There's so much stuff happening here that they can't even follow along. And good songwriters, their songs have 4 or 5 elements, and that's it. One of the best arrangers was Michael Jackson's arranger, and listen to Billie Jean, how many instruments are in that song? What is it? The verse is pretty much just 3 instruments, isn't it? It's piano, bass, and drums. And that's an amazing arrangement because all the parts are really good. So that's a big thing. Having a clear message, having an exact idea about what you want your song to do, and then sticking with that through your writing process and not having your song mutate into something else. Hope this helped. Take care and talk to you soon.